The condoms weren't mine. I stared at the little foil packets nestled between my wife's protein bars and yoga mat, feeling my world tilt sideways like a carnival ride gone wrong. 3 of them, ribbed for her pleasure, apparently. Either Jessica was planning the world's most awkward surprise party, or she was screwing someone who took latex allergies seriously. My name is Tom Harlan, and until 30 seconds ago, I thought my biggest problem was debugging a security patch for our company's network. Turns out, my wife's been debugging her marriage instead. I'm 38, work in IT security, and according to my mother-in-law, I have the personality of wet cardboard, but at least you're stable. Thanks, Margaret. Really helps a guy's self-esteem when his wife starts shopping for extracurricular activities. The green lace lingerie underneath the condoms was definitely not something I'd seen before. Jessica's usual bedroom attire consisted of old college t-shirts and complaints about being tired. This thing looked like it cost more than my monthly gym membership, which, let's be honest, was mostly going to waste anyway. Dad, what are you doing in Mom's gym bag? I spun around to find Max, my 14-year-old son, standing in the doorway with that expression kids get when they catch adults doing something suspicious. His dark hair was messy from sleep, and he wore a wrinkled t-shirt that read, "I paused my game to be here." Just looking for her car keys, I lied, zipping the bag shut. She asked me to grab them. Max gave me the look that said he inherited his mother's ability to spot bullshit from a mile away. Her keys are on the kitchen counter. They've been there all morning. Smart kid. Too smart for his own good sometimes. Right. Must have missed them. I stood up, trying to look casual while my brain processed what I'd just discovered. How's summer vacation treating you? Boring. Mom's never around. You work all the time, and all my friends are at camp or vacation. He shrugged. At least I have my PlayStation. The casual way he mentioned Jessica's absence hit me harder than it should have. When had I stopped noticing how often she was gone? When had working late at the gym become her standard excuse? Maybe we could do something this weekend, I offered. Go to that new arcade downtown? Max's face brightened slightly. Really? What about Mom? What about her? Won't she want to come? I thought about the condoms and lingerie. I'm sure she'll be busy. After Max wandered back to his room, I sat at the kitchen table and stared at Jessica's keys. They were attached to a little pink dumbbell keychain, a gift from her personal training clients last Christmas. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd been lifting more than weights lately. My phone buzzed with a text from Dave, my workout buddy, and one of the few people who could make me laugh even when I felt like garbage. Dave. Gym tonight? I need to work off the emotional trauma of watching my ex-wife's Facebook engagement photos. Me. Can't tonight. Family stuff. Dave. Translation: Jessica's dragging you to another couple's yoga class where everyone pretends to find inner peace while secretly judging each other's flexibility. If only it were that simple. Me. Something like that. The front door opened, and Jessica walked in wearing her usual post-workout glow. At 35, she still turned heads at the grocery store, with blonde hair that never seemed to have a bad day, and the kind of toned physique that made other wives hate her at school events. "Hey," she said, barely glancing in my direction as she headed for her gym bag. "How was work?" "The usual. Keeping the digital world safe from teenagers with too much time and basic hacking skills." I watched her face carefully. "How was the gym?" "Great. Had a really intense session with Wyatt today. He's pushing me harder than ever." Wyatt Miller. Personal trainer extraordinaire, owner of biceps that had their own zip code, and apparently the recipient of my wife's new lingerie collection. I'd met him a few times at gym events, the kind of guy who called everyone bro and thought protein powder was a food group. "That's nice," I said. "Must be working. You seem more energetic lately." Jessica paused while rummaging through her bag, and for a second I thought she might actually look at me. Instead, she grabbed her water bottle and headed for the stairs. "I'm going to shower. Can you start dinner?" Max is probably starving. Sure thing. I waited until I heard the bathroom door close before pulling out my phone. Time for some research. Wyatt Miller's social media presence was exactly what I expected. Shirtless gym selfies, motivational quotes about crushing your goals, and photos of protein smoothies that looked like colored chalk. What I hadn't expected were the comments from women that read less like fitness encouragement and more like poorly disguised flirtation. Looking good, trainer. Wish I could afford private sessions. My husband doesn't need to know about our workout plans. That last one was from someone named Miranda Walsh. The profile picture showed a brunette in her 30s wearing a wedding ring and a smile that suggested she specialized in bad decisions. I scrolled through more comments, finding similar messages from at least 6 different married women. Either Wyatt was running the world's most popular fitness program, or he was collecting housewives like Pokemon cards. The shower upstairs turned off, which meant I had about 10 minutes before Jessica came back down. I opened my laptop and did what I do best, dig deeper. Wyatt's business license showed he'd been operating as an independent trainer for 3 years. His client list wasn't public, but his scheduling app was poorly secured. Amateur hour. Within 5 minutes, I had access to his appointment calendar. Jessica Harlan appeared on his schedule 3 times a week for the past 4 months, always during times when I was at work and Max was at school, always listed as private consultation. The appointments had cute little heart emojis next to them. My phone buzzed with another text, this time from an unknown number. Can't wait for tomorrow night. Where the green thing? Wrong number or the universe's way of confirming what I already knew? I screenshot the message and was about to delete it when another one came through. Shit, sorry bro. Meant to send that to someone else. Brother. Of course. I saved both messages and deleted them from my phone. No point in letting Wyatt know he'd just handed me evidence on a silver platter. Jessica came downstairs wearing a silk robe and the kind of smile that used to make my day. Now it just made me wonder who else had seen it recently. "What's for dinner?" she asked, opening the refrigerator. "I was thinking we could order pizza. Spend some family time together." She wrinkled her nose. "Pizza?" "Tom, I'm trying to maintain my physique. Maybe you could make that grilled chicken salad I like." "The one that takes an hour to prepare?" "It's worth it. Besides, you could use the practice. Cooking is a useful skill." Translation: I was boring, predictable, and apparently needed improvement in basic life functions. Good to know. "Sure," I said. "Anything for my devoted wife." If she caught the sarcasm, she didn't show it. While I prepared dinner, Jessica sat at the kitchen island scrolling through her phone and giggling at something on the screen. Every few seconds, she'd type a response with the kind of focused attention she used to reserve for our conversations. "Anything interesting?" I asked, chopping vegetables with perhaps more force than necessary. Just Gina being Gina. You know how she is. Gina Rodriguez was Jessica's best friend and partner in crime. They'd known each other since college and shared the kind of bond that usually involved covering for each other's questionable decisions. What's she up to now? Oh, just complaining about her husband again. Apparently Richard bought the wrong kind of wine for their anniversary dinner. She's convinced he doesn't pay attention to anything she says. The irony was so thick I could have served it as a side dish. "That's terrible," I said. "Nothing worse than a spouse who doesn't listen." Jessica looked up from her phone for the first time all evening. "Are you feeling okay? You seem different tonight." "Different how?" "I don't know. More talkative? Usually you just grunt and ask about my day. Maybe I'm trying to be a better husband." She smiled, and for a moment I remembered why I'd fallen in love with her 15 years ago. Then her phone buzzed again, and the moment evaporated as she dove back into her screen. Dinner was a quiet affair. Max talked about a new video game he wanted, Jessica made appropriate mom noises while texting, and I planned my next move. Because here's the thing about working in IT security, you learn to think like the people you're trying to stop. You study their methods, anticipate their moves, and always stay 3 steps ahead. Jessica thought she was being clever with her secret phone calls and mysterious gym sessions. She had no idea she was married to someone who made a living catching people who thought they were smarter than the system. After dinner, while Jessica went to meet Gina for book club, which apparently involved a lot of wine and very few books, I tucked Max into bed and retreated to my home office. Time to get creative. I pulled out a small container of theatrical makeup I'd bought for Max's school play last year. Bright green face paint that was supposed to wash off easily, but had a tendency to stain everything it touched. Next to it, I placed a bottle of itching powder I'd ordered online as a gag gift for Dave's birthday. Both items were harmless, temporary, and absolutely perfect for my purposes. I mixed them together in a small squeeze bottle, creating what looked like an expensive massage oil, but would turn anyone who used it into a green, scratching mess for at least 24 hours. The beauty of working in IT is that you learn to appreciate elegant solutions. Nothing illegal, nothing permanent, just a simple cause and effect demonstration. Jessica's gym bag was still sitting by the front door. It took 30 seconds to locate her special occasion massage oil and replace it with my custom blend. The bottles were identical, and she'd never noticed the difference until it was too late. I also installed a small wireless camera in the garage, positioned to capture anyone who might try to sneak in through the side door. Completely legal on my own property, and the perfect way to document whatever happened next. By the time Jessica came home from book club, smelling like wine and someone else's cologne, I was already in bed pretending to read a thriller novel about a man who discovers his wife is cheating. "How was book club?" I asked as she changed into pajamas. "Good. We're reading something about marriage and betrayal, very dramatic. Sounds fascinating. What's it called?" She paused, clearly trying to remember a book title that didn't exist. The Unfaithful Heart. You probably wouldn't like it." "You're probably right. I prefer stories where people get what they deserve in the end." She climbed into bed and kissed my cheek with lips that tasted like lies and cheap wine. "Good night, Tom." "Good night, sweetheart. Sweet dreams." As she drifted off to sleep, I stared at the ceiling and smiled for the first time in months. Tomorrow was going to be very interesting. I woke up to the sound of Jessica's phone buzzing like an angry hornet. She grabbed it quickly, trying not to wake me, but I was already alert and listening. "Hey," she whispered into the phone. "No, he's still asleep. Yes, I have everything. The retreat sounds perfect. I can't wait either. Retreat, right." She slipped out of bed and padded to the bathroom, taking her phone with her. I could hear muffled conversation through the door, punctuated by soft laughter that used to be reserved for me. My laptop was still open on the nightstand from the night before. A few quick keystrokes brought up the wireless camera feed from the garage. Everything was ready. Jessica emerged from the bathroom, looking radiant in a way that had nothing to do with skincare routines. "I'm going to that wellness retreat I mentioned," she said, grabbing clothes from the dresser. "Gina and I booked it last month, remember?" I didn't remember because she'd never mentioned it, but I nodded anyway. "How long will you be gone?" "Just overnight. We'll be back tomorrow evening." She pulled on yoga pants that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. "It's a digital detox thing. No phones, no distractions. Just meditation and self-discovery. Sounds very enlightening. You should try it sometime. Might help with your stress levels." My stress levels were about to become the least of anyone's problems. After Jessica left, I made breakfast for Max and tried to act normal while my phone tracked her location via the family sharing app she'd forgotten to disable. She wasn't heading toward any wellness retreat. She was driving straight to the Riverside Inn, a boutique hotel about 20 miles outside town. The same hotel where Wyatt Miller had posted Instagram photos just last week, flexing in front of their luxury spa. "Dad, you're burning the eggs," Max observed. "Right. Sorry." I flipped them quickly, trying to focus on parenting instead of revenge plotting. "What do you want to do today?" Can we go to the arcade? You promised yesterday. Absolutely. But first, I need to run a quick errand. The errand involved driving to the electronics store and buying a small GPS tracker, the kind worried parents use to keep tabs on their teenagers. Completely legal and perfect for attaching to the underside of someone's car bumper. Wyatt's Mustang was parked outside his apartment complex, gleaming red paint job reflecting the morning sun like a beacon of douchebaggery. The GPS tracker attached with a satisfying magnetic click. Now I could monitor both of them. Max and I spent the afternoon at the arcade, where he systematically destroyed me at every game we played. It was exactly the kind of normal father-son bonding I'd been missing, and for a few hours, I almost forgot about Jessica's betrayal. "You're getting better at this," Max said, as I managed to not come in last place at racing game. "Thanks, I think." "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Are you and Mom okay? You guys seem different lately. Smart kid. Too smart." "What makes you say that?" "You barely talk to each other anymore, and Mom's always going out with her friends or working late. It's like she doesn't want to be here." The honesty in his voice hit me harder than I expected. How long had he been noticing? How long had I been pretending everything was fine? "Sometimes adults go through complicated phases," I said carefully. "But no matter what happens between your mom and me, we both love you very much." "Are you getting divorced?" The question hung in the air like smoke from a house fire. "I don't know," I admitted. "But if we do, it won't be your fault. Sometimes people just grow apart." Max nodded solemnly, processing this information with the kind of mature acceptance that made my heart ache. "Can we get ice cream?" he asked. "Absolutely." That evening, while Max played video games, I monitored the GPS tracker and wireless camera from my home office. Jessica and Wyatt had spent the entire day at the Riverside Inn, probably working up quite an appetite for room service. Around 8 p.m., they finally left the hotel and headed back toward town. The tracker showed them stopping at Wyatt's apartment for about an hour before Jessica started driving home. I switched to the garage camera feed and waited. At 9:47 p.m., Jessica's car pulled into the driveway, but instead of coming through the front door, she crept around to the garage side entrance like a teenager sneaking in past curfew. The camera captured everything in perfect high definition. Jessica fumbled with her keys, trying to be quiet as she slipped inside. Her hair was disheveled, her clothes wrinkled, and she moved with the careful precision of someone trying very hard to look normal. But the best part was what I couldn't see yet, the effects of my special massage oil blend. She made it about halfway across the garage before the itching started. First, it was just a casual scratch at her arm, then her shoulder. Within 30 seconds, she was scratching frantically at her neck, her back, anywhere she could reach. The green staining became visible under the garage lights, spreading across her skin like a rash from hell. She looked down at her hands and let out a muffled shriek. I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing out loud. Jessica rushed into the house through the connecting door, and I quickly closed my laptop and pretended to be reading. "Tom?" she called from downstairs. "Are you awake?" "Yeah, just reading. How was the retreat?" There was a long pause. "It was interesting. I'm going to take a quick shower." "Okay. How's Gina?" Another pause. "She's fine." Very enlightened. I listened to her footsteps on the stairs, followed by the sound of the bathroom door slamming shut. The shower ran for almost an hour, accompanied by what sounded like vigorous scrubbing and occasional frustrated groans. When she finally emerged, I pretended to be asleep. Jessica climbed into bed carefully, trying not to touch me with skin that was probably still tinged green despite her marathon shower session. She lay rigidly on her side, scratching occasionally and muttering under her breath. "Everything okay?" I asked innocently. I think I had an allergic reaction to something at the spa, some kind of herbal treatment. That's terrible. Maybe you should see a doctor. It's probably nothing. Just need to let it work out of my system. She was right about that. The itching would fade in about 24 hours, but the green staining would take at least a week to completely disappear. I rolled over and smiled into my pillow. Round 1. Tom. The next morning brought fresh entertainment. Jessica spent an extra hour in the bathroom trying to cover the green tinge with makeup, but she looked like she'd been dipped in mint chocolate chip ice cream. "Wow, Mom," Max said at breakfast. "You look really green." "It's just the lighting in here," Jessica snapped, then immediately softened her tone. "Sorry, honey. I'm just tired from the retreat." "Did you get into poison ivy or something?" "Something like that." I sipped my coffee and tried to look concerned. "Maybe you should stay home today. Rest up." "I can't. I have 3 training sessions scheduled." "Perfect." After Jessica left for work, wearing long sleeves and pants despite the summer heat, I checked Wyatt's social media. His latest post was a gym selfie with the caption, "Feeling a little green around the gills today, bros." The comments were already rolling in. "Dude, you look like the Hulk's cousin. What happened to your skin? Is that contagious?" Wyatt had tried to play it off as a new supplement experiment, but the damage was done. Several of his female followers were already expressing concern about his condition. My phone rang. "Dave, please tell me you're free for lunch," he said. "I need to hear about normal people problems before I lose my mind." "What's wrong?" "My ex-wife's engagement party is this weekend and she invited me." "She actually invited me, Tom, to watch her marry the guy she left me for." "That's... wow. Right? So I need to hear about your boring, stable marriage to restore my faith in humanity." I almost choked on my coffee. "Actually, things have been pretty interesting around here lately." "Interesting how?" "Let's just say Jessica's been exploring new hobbies." "Hobbies?" "I'll tell you at lunch. Meet me at that sports bar on 5th Street. This better be good." Dave Martinez was the kind of friend who'd help you move a body without asking questions. We'd known each other since college, bonded over shared experiences of dating women who were way out of our league and wondering how we'd gotten so lucky. Turns out, we hadn't. "Holy shit," Dave said after I'd filled him in on the past 24 hours. "Jessica's cheating on you with a personal trainer named Wyatt?" "Apparently. And you turned them both green. Temporarily green." That's actually brilliant." He raised his beer in a mock toast. "Here's to creative problem solving." "It's not over yet." "What do you mean?" I showed him the screenshots I'd taken of Wyatt's social media comments, along with photos from the garage camera feed. "Jesus, Tom. You're like a one-man surveillance state." "I prefer to think of myself as thorough." "What's your endgame here?" "You can't keep turning them green forever." "I'm still working on that part." Dave studied my face carefully. "You're enjoying this?" "Maybe a little." "Be careful, man. Revenge has a way of getting out of hand." "This isn't revenge. It's justice." "What's the difference?" "Revenge is emotional. Justice is methodical." Dave shook his head. "You're starting to sound like one of those guys in thriller movies who thinks he's the hero right up until he becomes the villain." "Maybe the villain has a point." That afternoon, I received a text from Jessica. "Coming home early. Not feeling well." The itching was probably getting worse. Good. She arrived looking miserable, still tinged green despite multiple layers of concealer. Her training sessions had apparently not gone well. "How was work?" I asked. "Terrible. I think I'm having some kind of reaction to that spa treatment. My clients were asking questions, and I couldn't concentrate. Maybe you should take a few days off. Let your system recover. I can't afford to cancel sessions." "Rent doesn't pay itself." Interesting. Since when did Jessica worry about money? Her training business was successful, and my IT job covered most of our household expenses. "Are we having financial problems I don't know about?" She looked startled. "No, of course not. I just meant, you know, professional reputation. If clients think I'm sick or contagious. Right. That makes sense. But it didn't make sense, and we both knew it. That evening, while Jessica soaked in an oatmeal bath trying to soothe her irritated skin, I did more digging. Our joint bank account showed several large withdrawals over the past 3 months, all made by Jessica. The amounts weren't huge individually, but they added up to almost $3,000. The credit card statements revealed purchases at Victoria's Secret, expensive restaurants I'd never been to, and a jewelry store downtown. Either Jessica was planning the world's most elaborate surprise party, or she was financing her affair with our savings. I was betting on option 2. My phone buzzed with another misdirected text from Wyatt. Can't meet tonight. Still dealing with this skin thing. Rain check? This one was clearly meant for Jessica, which meant they'd been planning another rendezvous. I forwarded the message to myself and deleted it from my phone, then sent Jessica a text from my laptop using a spoofed number. Missing you already. When can we meet again? Her response came within minutes. Soon. Just need to figure out this skin situation. Tom's getting suspicious. So I was getting suspicious, was I? I screenshot her reply and added it to my growing evidence file. Jessica emerged from her bath, looking slightly less green, but significantly more frustrated. Any better? I asked. A little. I think it's starting to fade. That's good news. She settled onto the couch next to me, closer than she'd been in months. For a moment, I wondered if the guilt was finally getting to her. Tom, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you think we're happy? The question caught me off guard. What do you mean? I mean, are you happy? With us? With our marriage? I studied her face, looking for signs of confession or remorse. Instead, I saw calculation. Are you happy? I asked. I asked first. I think happiness is complicated. There are things I'd change if I could. Like what? More honesty, better communication, less time spent on phones during dinner. She had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. I've been distracted lately. I've noticed. What would you say if I told you I've been thinking about making some changes? Here it comes, I thought. The confession, the tearful admission, the plea for forgiveness. What kind of changes? Maybe we should try counseling. Work on our communication issues. That wasn't what I'd expected. You want to go to couples therapy? I think it might help. We've been drifting apart, and I don't want to lose what we have. The sincerity in her voice was almost convincing. If I didn't know about Wyatt, about the condoms and lingerie, about the hotel receipts and secret phone calls, I might have believed her. Okay, I said. Let's try counseling. She smiled and leaned over to kiss me. Her lips were soft and familiar, but they tasted like lies. I love you, Tom. I love you too. And the strangest part was, I meant it. Even knowing what she'd done, even planning what I was going to do next, some part of me still loved the woman I'd married 15 years ago. But love and justice weren't mutually exclusive. After Jessica went to bed, I sat in my office planning phase 2 of my campaign. The green staining had been a warning shot, a gentle introduction to consequences. What came next would be more permanent. I opened Wyatt's social media profile and studied his friend list. 43 women, most of them married, all of them clients or potential clients. It was time to do some networking. The Riverside Fitness Center was buzzing with its usual morning energy when I walked in at 6 a.m. sharp. I'd never been much of a gym rat, but my basic membership gave me access to all the facilities, including the gossip network that operated more efficiently than most intelligence agencies. Tom, Dave waved me over to the weight section. What are you doing here so early? Thought I'd try to get in shape. You know, work on self-improvement. This wouldn't have anything to do with your current situation, would it? Maybe. Dave lowered his voice. Dude, have you seen Wyatt today? He looks like he got into a fight with a highlighter. I glanced toward the personal training area, where Wyatt was attempting to work with a middle-aged woman who kept staring at the green tinge still visible on his arms and neck. Weird. Wonder what happened to him. Food poisoning, maybe? Or some kind of allergic reaction? Could be. The woman Wyatt was training, I recognized her as Linda Morrison from Max's school, looked increasingly uncomfortable as Wyatt demonstrated exercises while obviously trying not to scratch himself. Is that contagious? She asked, loudly enough for half the gym to hear. No, Wyatt assured her. Just a reaction to a new supplement. Totally harmless. But Linda was already backing away. Maybe we should reschedule until you're feeling better. Really, it's fine. I'll call you later. She grabbed her water bottle and headed for the exit, leaving Wyatt standing alone, looking like a rejected Incredible Hulk. I pulled out my phone and pretended to check messages while actually recording the interaction. This was going to be useful later. Tom Harlan? I turned to find a brunette in expensive workout gear smiling at me. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her immediately. Yes? Miranda Walsh. We met at the school fundraiser last spring. I'm friends with Jessica. Right. Miranda Walsh, owner of the suspicious social media comments on Wyatt's posts. Of course. How are you? Good. I was just wondering, is Jessica okay? She looked a little green yesterday at her training session. Some kind of spa treatment gone wrong? Something like that. She's recovering at home today. Miranda's smile faltered slightly. Oh, I thought she might have caught whatever Wyatt has. They've been working together a lot lately. Have they? Oh, yes. Very intensive sessions, from what I understand. The way she emphasized intensive made it clear she knew exactly what kind of sessions they were. Well, I said carefully, I'm sure they're both just tired from all that hard work. I'm sure they are. We stared at each other for a moment, two people having a conversation about something entirely different than what we were actually saying. Give Jessica my best, Miranda said finally. I will. After she walked away, I realized I'd just been tested. Miranda was fishing for information, trying to figure out if I knew about Jessica and Wyatt's arrangement. Which meant other people knew too. I spent the next hour working out and listening to conversations around me. The gym's gossip network was already buzzing about Wyatt's mysterious condition and Jessica's sudden absence. I heard it might be some kind of STD, one woman whispered to her friend near the elliptical machines. That's terrible, her friend replied, but honestly he's been way too friendly with some of his clients lately. I know, right? My husband would kill me if I was doing private sessions with a trainer who looks like that. Speaking of which, where's Jessica Harlan today? She's usually here every morning. Probably has the same thing Wyatt has. They've been practically joined at the hip lately. I filed that information away and headed home. Jessica was still in bed when I got back, looking miserable and still faintly green despite her best efforts with makeup. How was the gym? She asked. Interesting. Ran into Miranda Walsh. She asked about you. Jessica's expression sharpened. What did she say? Just wondered if you were feeling better. Apparently, you looked a little under the weather yesterday. I told you. It was that spa treatment. Right. Miranda mentioned that Wyatt seemed to have something similar. Weird coincidence. Jessica was quiet for a long moment. Yeah. Weird. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Tom Harlan? The voice was female, nervous. Yes. This is Linda Morrison. From Max's school? I think we need to talk. Interesting. About what? About your wife and Wyatt Miller. Can you meet me for coffee? Somewhere private? I glanced at Jessica, who was pretending not to listen while obviously hanging on every word. I'll have to call you back, I said. Please. It's important. After I hung up, Jessica asked, Who was that? Wrong number. but it wasn't a wrong number, and we both knew it. I met Linda Morrison at a coffee shop across town an hour later. She was a divorced mother of two, probably in her early 40s, with the kind of tired eyes that suggested she'd seen enough drama to last a lifetime. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, as I sat down across from her. "What's this about?" "Your wife and Wyatt Miller are having an affair." The bluntness of it was refreshing after days of dancing around the subject. "What makes you say that?" "Because I was having an affair with him too, until yesterday, that I hadn't expected." Linda pulled out her phone and showed me a series of text messages from Wyatt, ranging from flirtatious to explicitly sexual. "He's been sleeping with at least 6 of his clients that I know of," she continued. "Married women mostly. He's got a whole system worked out. Private sessions, weekend retreats, even a rotation schedule so we don't run into each other." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because yesterday, when I saw him looking like he'd been dipped in food coloring, something clicked. He tried to blame it on supplements, but I've seen him take supplements. This was something else." She leaned forward, studying my face. "You did something to him, didn't you?" I kept my expression neutral. "I don't know what you mean. Look, I'm not judging. If my ex-husband had been half as creative when he caught me cheating, we might still be married. But whatever you did, it worked. Wyatt's been canceling sessions left and right because clients don't want to be near him. Interesting. I'm getting out before this gets worse. Wyatt's not worth losing my reputation over, and your wife isn't the only one with a family to think about." She stood up to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I know what it feels like to be betrayed. But I also know what it feels like to be the one doing the betraying. Neither position is fun." After she left, I sat in the coffee shop processing this new information. Wyatt wasn't just cheating with Jessica. He was running a full-scale operation with multiple married clients, which meant Jessica wasn't special. She was just another conquest in his collection. Somehow, that made it worse. I drove home to find Jessica on the phone in the kitchen, speaking in hushed tones. "I can't today," she was saying. "Tom's being attentive. Maybe tomorrow?" She saw me and quickly ended the call. "Who was that?" "Gina. She wanted to go shopping." "Shopping sounds fun. Maybe I'll come with you." The panic in her eyes was almost comical. "Oh, you don't want to do that. It's just boring girl stuff. Makeup and clothes." "I don't mind. We haven't spent much time together lately. Maybe another time. I'm still not feeling great anyway." That evening, while Jessica took another oatmeal bath, I put phase 2 of my plan into motion. I created a fake social media account using stock photos of an attractive woman in her 30s. The profile listed her as recently divorced and looking for a fresh start. Within an hour of sending Wyatt a friend request, he'd accepted and sent a direct message. "Hey, beautiful. New to the area? I'm a personal trainer. Would love to help you get back in shape." I spent the next 2 hours chatting with him, learning his standard pickup routine and gathering screenshots of increasingly inappropriate messages. But the real breakthrough came when he sent me his client package, a detailed breakdown of his services, including something called VIP sessions that cost 3 times his normal rate and came with a confidentiality agreement. The confidentiality agreement was a legal document designed to prevent clients from discussing the specialized nature of his training methods. In other words, a hush-money contract for his affair partners. I forwarded everything to my personal email and saved it in multiple locations. This was evidence that could destroy Wyatt's business and reputation permanently. But I wasn't done yet. The next morning, I visited the offices of 3 different divorce attorneys, ostensibly for consultations about a friend's situation. Each attorney gave me the same advice: document everything, gather evidence, and be prepared for a long battle. They also mentioned that adultery, while not affecting property division in our state, could impact custody arrangements and spousal support. Good to know. That afternoon, I received another misdirected text from Wyatt, this one clearly meant for Jessica. "Feeling better today. Want to try that new place downtown? Room 237 is already booked. Room 237, the Riverside Inn again. I forwarded the message to Jessica from my spoofed number. Can't wait. Same time as usual? Her response, yes. And Tom's working late tonight, so we have plenty of time. Except I wasn't working late. I'd taken a personal day. At 6 p.m., I followed Jessica's car to the Riverside Inn and watched her meet Wyatt in the parking lot. They embraced like lovers in a romance novel, completely oblivious to the fact that I was recording everything from across the street with a telephoto lens. They disappeared into the hotel for exactly 2 hours and 17 minutes. When they emerged, both looking satisfied and relaxed, I was ready with the next phase of my plan. I'd spent the afternoon rigging Wyatt's Mustang with a small device that would trigger the car's alarm system randomly throughout the night. Nothing permanent, nothing illegal, just a simple electronic prank that would ensure he didn't get much sleep. I'd also placed a GPS tracker on Jessica's car, synced to an app that would alert me every time she deviated from her normal routes. As they said goodbye in the parking lot, with another passionate kiss that made my stomach turn, I was already planning their next surprise. Jessica came home an hour later, claiming she'd been at book club again. How was the book? I asked. Really good. Very satisfying ending. I love stories with satisfying endings. She looked at me strangely. Are you feeling okay? You seem different lately. Different how? I don't know. More present? Like you're actually paying attention to things. Maybe I'm just trying to be a better husband. That's sweet. She kissed my cheek and headed upstairs, probably to shower off the evidence of her evening activities. I sat in my office and reviewed the photos and videos I'd captured. Everything was crystal clear. Jessica and Wyatt entering the hotel together, embracing in the parking lot, the obvious intimacy between them. But documentation was only the first step. Justice required a more creative approach. I opened my laptop and began researching the Riverside Inn's booking system. Like most small hotels, their security was laughably inadequate. Within 20 minutes, I had access to their reservation database. Wyatt had been booking room 237 twice a week for the past 3 months, always under a fake name, always paying cash. But here's the interesting part. He wasn't the only one using fake names for regular bookings. The database showed at least 12 other clients who followed similar patterns. Wyatt was running his operation like a business, complete with a regular schedule and preferred locations, which meant he probably had other preferred locations too. I spent the next hour cross-referencing his social media check-ins with hotel booking databases across the city. The pattern was clear. Wyatt had arrangements with at least 4 different hotels, rotating locations to avoid suspicion. He was more organized than I'd given him credit for. But organization created patterns, and patterns created vulnerabilities. I made a list of all his regular booking locations and times, then began planning a coordinated response. If Wyatt wanted to run his affairs like a business, I was going to treat him like a business. And every business had competitors. I created 5 more fake social media profiles, each representing a different type of potential client: young professional, bored housewife, fitness enthusiast, recent divorcee, and wealthy widow. By midnight, all 5 profiles had connected with Wyatt and were engaged in flirtatious conversations about private training sessions. He was so predictable it was almost boring. Each fake profile was designed to appeal to a different aspect of his ego while gathering specific types of information. The young professional asked about his business practices. The bored housewife wanted to know about discretion and privacy. The fitness enthusiast questioned his training methods. The recent divorcee needed emotional support and validation. The wealthy widow was interested in exclusive, expensive services. Within 48 hours, I had a complete picture of Wyatt's operation, including his fee structure, his standard pickup lines, his preferred hotels, and most importantly, his client list. 37 women. 37 married women who thought they were having discreet affairs with a professional trainer. What they actually had was a shared boyfriend who was systematically milking them for money, gifts, and ego boosts. Time to let them know. But first, I needed to deal with Jessica. She'd been increasingly paranoid over the past few days, constantly checking her phone and looking over her shoulder. The green staining had finally faded, but her confidence hadn't recovered. "I think someone's been following me," she said over dinner. "Following you? Why would anyone follow you?" "I don't know. It's probably just paranoia, but I keep seeing the same car behind me." That was interesting. I hadn't been following her. The GPS tracker made that unnecessary. "What kind of car?" "Blue sedan. Older model. I made a mental note to investigate. If someone else was watching Jessica, I needed to know who and why. Maybe you should call the police." "And tell them what?" "That I think someone might be following me, but I'm not sure." "It's worth reporting. Better safe than sorry." She nodded, but I could tell she wasn't going to call anyone. Whatever was making her paranoid, she didn't want official attention. That night, after Jessica went to bed, I reviewed the GPS tracker data from her car. Her routes over the past week showed the usual pattern: home, gym, Riverside Inn, various shopping centers. But there was one location that didn't fit: a small office building downtown that she'd visited twice in the past week, both times for exactly 1 hour. I looked up the building's tenant directory online. Most of the offices were occupied by accountants, insurance agents, and small law firms, including Morrison and Associates, Family Law, Linda Morrison's ex-husband's law firm. Jessica was consulting with a divorce attorney, which meant she was planning to leave me, but not before securing her financial position and probably trying to paint me as the bad guy in the process. The pieces were falling into place. Jessica's sudden interest in couples counseling wasn't about saving our marriage. It was about establishing a paper trail, showing she'd tried to work things out. Her concern about money wasn't about our household budget. It was about calculating what she could expect in a divorce settlement. She was playing a longer game than I'd realized, but two could play that game. And I was much better at it than she was. She was.